Some dates arrive quietly, yet they divide a life into before and after. In Eastern wisdom, a prophetic date never threatens fate, and it never spreads fear. It signals awareness. Time speaks only when the mind grows still. January 4th stands as such a threshold, not destiny. A crossing. I am Shi Heng Yi. In this reflection, you will learn how ancient Shaolin teaching reads time as a teacher, not a ruler. You will see why regret forms through inattention, not through error. You will uncover a lesser-known principle shared inside temple walls. Moments of clarity appear briefly, then move on without resistance. Many pass through them asleep. Stories from old masters reveal this pattern. A bell rings at dawn. Those present align breath and posture. Those absent receive no second call. Life follows the same rhythm. January 4th mirrors that bell. No force, no command, only an invitation toward alignment. Many overlook this approach because modern culture worships speed. Shaolin training values timing. Acting early preserves energy. Acting late costs peace. This difference explains countless inner collapses unseen by others. Awareness today prevents apology tomorrow. Throughout this video, I will guide you through mindful practices that sharpen early sight, the skill to notice patterns before consequences mature. You will learn how discipline serves compassion for the future self and why silence protects strength during turning points. These teachings rarely reach public ears, yet they shape warriors of calm and clarity. This session blends history, practice, and quiet challenge. Every sentence points toward responsibility without pressure. The drama rests inside recognition. The instant inner resistance falls away. Remain until the final moments, because the closing insight offers a simple inner question capable of redirecting an entire year. This question dissolves superstition and replaces it with responsibility. Time does not hurry toward you, yet it never stands still. In Shaolin teaching, time is not an enemy to defeat or a force to outrun. It is a mirror held quietly in front of the soul. When you look into it, you do not see the future, you see yourself. Within the temple, we are taught that time does not chase anyone. It does not demand, threaten, or warn. It simply walks its path. What appears later is only what has been practiced earlier. A restless mind creates restless days. A disciplined body shapes a stable life. Time reveals this without judgment. There is an old teaching shared during early morning training. Two students wake before dawn. One moves with attention, breath steady, posture aligned. The other moves through habit, mind elsewhere. At sunrise, both have trained for the same length of time. Years later, their bodies speak different stories. Time did not choose sides. It only reflected what was placed before it. Many believe regret comes from missed opportunities. This is a misunderstanding. Regret grows from ignored moments of reflection, moments when the body signals fatigue, when the mind whispers discomfort, when silence offers a chance to realign. These moments are often dismissed as unimportant. Time remembers them. Shaolin masters teach that every habit leaves an imprint. How you sit, how you breathe, how you respond under pressure. These small actions are seeds. Time is the soil. Nothing disappears. Everything matures. People say time is cruel when the body weakens or when life collapses suddenly. In truth, time is honest. It does not hide consequences. It does not soften truth. It shows exactly what has been repeated. When reflection is avoided, patterns harden. When awareness is delayed, correction becomes painful. Time does not punish, it reveals. And once revealed, it asks a silent question. Will you continue as before, or finally see clearly? Regret is often misunderstood as the shadow of failure, yet ancient teaching points elsewhere. Failure can instruct. It can sharpen perception and refine direction. What truly gives birth to regret is unconscious living. Moving through days without presence, acting without listening, repeating patterns without noticing their cost. Within Shaolin tradition, A wrong step is not condemned. A misaligned strike reveals weakness in stance. A lost breath exposes tension in the body. These moments become teachers. Awareness transforms error into guidance. Discipline is not about avoiding mistakes. It is about staying awake while making them. There is a story shared quietly during training. A student practices the same form for years, yet improvement stalls. Another practices imperfectly, but with full attention. The first repeats movements from memory. The second observes each sensation, each imbalance. Over time, the attentive student surpasses the other. Both made mistakes. Only one learned. Unconscious living dulls this learning. When actions are automatic, reflection disappears. The mind drifts. The body follows routine. Life becomes efficient, yet empty. Regret grows silently in such conditions. Not from what was done, but from what was never questioned. Ancient masters teach that awareness is the gate through which wisdom enters. Without it, even correct action becomes hollow. With it, even wrong action becomes valuable. Discipline strengthens this awareness. It anchors attention in the present moment, where insight can arise. Ignored awareness teaches nothing. A warning felt in the body but dismissed. A discomfort in the heart but rationalized. A quiet knowing pushed aside for convenience. These moments pass quickly, yet their absence returns later as confusion or loss. Inner mastery is the art of staying present before life forces understanding. It is choosing to feel, to notice, to adjust. When awareness guides action, regret loses its power, not because life becomes perfect, but because every step, even the misstep, becomes conscious. Certain moments do not arrive with noise, they arrive as stillness. In ancient traditions, a date can serve as a checkpoint for the soul, not because the calendar holds power, but because the mind is invited to pause. It is a narrow space between intention and action, where truth becomes visible. A checkpoint is not a judgment. It is a stopping point on a long road. Travelers pause, not to fear the path ahead, but to check their direction. Many move through life without this pause. They intend much, yet act little, or they act constantly, yet forget why. Discipline begins by standing still long enough to notice this gap. Old masters taught that action without reflection wastes energy, and reflection without action weakens will. The space between them must be honored. When it is ignored, life becomes reactive. The mind responds to pressure, emotion, and habit. Days fill themselves without conscious choice. At such a checkpoint, a quiet question rises. Am I living deliberately or only reacting? This question does not accuse, it illuminates. Deliberate living requires effort. It demands awareness before movement. Reaction requires none. It follows momentum already in motion. There is a story of a student sent to fetch water from a distant spring. On the return, he spills much of it through haste. The master does not scold him. He asks one question: where was your mind while walking? The lesson is simple. Presence protects what effort gathers. A date framed as a checkpoint serves the same function. It invites the mind to return to the body, to intention, to purpose. Discipline grows here, not through force, but through clarity. When intention is seen clearly, action aligns naturally. Mastery does not begin with control over others or circumstances. It begins at this pause, the moment when one chooses awareness over impulse. From that choice, direction forms, and the path forward becomes steady. Discipline is often misunderstood because it is viewed through the lens of force. Many believe it exists to restrict, to deny comfort, or to punish weakness. Ancient teaching offers a quieter understanding. Discipline is not imposed on the self. It is offered to the future self as protection. In the Shaolin way, discipline is practiced before pain appears. A body trained daily resists injury. A mind ordered through routine resists chaos. This is not severity. It is care extended forward in time. Just as one prepares shelter before the storm, Discipline prepares the inner world before difficulty arrives. There is a teaching passed down during long hours of training. When effort feels heavy, remember who benefits from it. The benefit does not belong to the present moment alone. It belongs to the one who wakes tomorrow with clarity, strength, and direction. Each disciplined act is a message sent forward. I did not abandon you. Suffering often appears sudden, yet its roots are patient. Neglected health does not protest immediately. Avoided responsibility remains silent for years. Ignored inner unrest waits. When it finally surfaces, it feels like fate. In truth, it is accumulation. Discipline interrupts this process early, gently, without drama. This is the deeper warning behind any so-called prophetic message. It is not about fear of loss. It is about awareness of cause. What is postponed today grows heavier tomorrow. What is guided today moves lightly through time. Ancient masters spoke of training the easy days, not the hard ones. Hard days arrive without invitation. Easy days offer choice. Discipline uses those days wisely. It does not demand perfection. It asks for consistency. Kindness toward the future self requires restraint now, choosing rest before exhaustion, order before collapse, silence before conflict. These choices appear small. Time reveals their weight. When discipline is understood as care, resistance softens. Effort becomes meaningful. The path of mastery then feels less like struggle and more like guidance, leading steadily away from unnecessary suffering. Mindfulness is often mistaken for calmness, yet calmness is only a surface effect. Ancient practice describes mindfulness as early sight, the ability to see what is forming before it becomes fixed. Long before fate is spoken of, patterns are already moving. In Shaolin training, awareness is sharpened before strength. A practitioner learns to feel imbalance before falling, tension before injury, distraction before error. This sensitivity is not mystical, it is practical. It allows correction while change is still light and possible. There is a story of a monk walking the same forest path each day. One morning, he notices a stone slightly out of place. He steps around it. Later, others trip where he passed safely. The stone did not move suddenly. It had been shifting slowly. Early sight made the difference. Life follows the same principle. Habits form quietly. A reaction repeated becomes temperament. A thought entertained becomes belief. An ignored discomfort becomes pain. Mindfulness notices these movements early while they are still soft. Regret grows where awareness arrives late. When clarity comes only after damage, reflection becomes heavy. Shaolin practice aims to prevent this weight, not by controlling life, but by staying present with it. Training attention is the core discipline. Breath is observed, posture is refined, thought is witnessed without indulgence. Through this, the practitioner learns to see without judgment. This seeing creates space. In that space, choice appears. Without early sight, people call outcomes unlucky or inevitable. With it, outcomes are understood as gradual. Awareness dissolves the illusion of sudden collapse. Everything reveals its approach. Mindfulness does not promise constant peace. It offers clarity. Clarity allows timely adjustment. When adjustment happens early, suffering loses momentum. Regret finds no soil in which to root. Inner mastery grows from this skill. Seeing early, acting gently, correcting quietly. In this way, awareness becomes protection, guiding life away from unnecessary consequence long before it must be endured. There is an insight rarely spoken outside quiet training halls. Life keeps careful records, not of words, not of promises, but of attention. What is noticed is guided. What is ignored is delayed, never erased. Shaolin teaching describes this as unpaid debts of attention. They do not disappear, they mature. Emotions ask to be felt, not indulged or suppressed. When they are ignored, they do not fade. They gather weight beneath the surface. A single emotion avoided becomes tension. Tension becomes reaction. Reaction becomes chaos. What appears sudden is often long neglected. The body speaks with subtle language. Fatigue arrives softly, stiffness whispers before it shouts. Small discomforts signal imbalance. When these messages are dismissed, the body remembers. Pain is not punishment. It is communication forced to raise its voice. Purpose follows the same law. Meaning does not demand constant certainty, but it requires attention. When direction is postponed, days become repetitive. Effort loses flavor. Achievement feels hollow. Emptiness is not a mystery. It is the echo of ignored inner questions. Ancient masters observed that life remains patient far longer than humans expect. It allows many chances to listen, but patience should not be mistaken for absence. Debts of attention accumulate quietly, without urgency. When they return, they feel overwhelming. Discipline prevents this accumulation. It creates daily moments of checking in. How does the body feel? What emotion is present? Where is effort being directed? These questions seem simple. Their absence is costly. Inner mastery is not control over circumstances. It is responsibility for attention. Choosing to notice before life insists. Choosing to respond before reaction hardens. When attention is paid early, balance is maintained with little effort. When it is delayed, correction becomes heavy. Life does not seek revenge, it seeks acknowledgement. Once attention is offered, tension softens, chaos settles, pain instructs, emptiness points the way back to meaning. In this understanding, awareness becomes currency, and discipline ensures no debt is left unpaid. Mastery is often imagined as something distant, earned only through long stretches of time. Ancient teaching offers a quieter truth. Mastery is built in single days, chosen with care. Years do not create transformation on their own. They only collect what each day contributes. In Shaolin practice, no one trains for a lifetime at once. Training happens today, breath by breath, step by step. A single day practiced with alignment carries more weight than months lived unconsciously. This is why small, consistent discipline reshapes an entire path. Certain days stand out, not because of their date, but because of the attention brought to them. January 4th represents one such moment. It serves as a marker, a reminder to return to intention, to choose posture over collapse, awareness over drift. There is a teaching shared with new students. Do not worry about becoming strong. Worry about training correctly today. Strength will take care of itself. The same applies to life. One day lived deliberately sets a tone. The body remembers it. The mind follows it. The next day becomes easier to align. An aligned day does not require perfection. It requires presence, eating with attention, speaking with restraint, acting with purpose, resting without guilt. These choices seem small, yet they shift direction. When days are chosen consciously, momentum changes, habits reorganize, energy stops leaking. What once felt difficult becomes natural. A year guided by even a few such days moves differently than one filled with reaction. January 4th symbolizes this possibility, not as a promise, but as an opportunity. One day can interrupt patterns that have ruled for months. It can soften resistance. It can restore clarity. Mastery begins where choice is reclaimed. Not in distant plans, but in this day, lived with awareness. From here, direction forms. And from direction, lasting change quietly follows. Many approach wisdom expecting warnings, threats, or fear. Ancient Shaolin teaching moves against this instinct. Fear is not a guide. It shapes obedience, not mastery. It compels action, but only under pressure. Strength built on fear is brittle, collapsing under its first real test. True change arises differently, quietly, without panic. In the temple, students face rigorous training, yet the lesson is never to fear the master, the challenge, or the pain. Instead, they are taught to see clearly, to understand the purpose of each movement, each breath, each repetition. Clarity produces readiness. Panic produces reaction. One leads to freedom, the other to entanglement. There is a story told of a young monk who trembled before the river crossing. The current seemed too strong. Fear almost froze him. The master said nothing of danger, nothing of punishment, only one instruction. Focus on each step, align your body, watch the water. The river yielded only when attention met action. Panic never cleared the way, only presence did. Fear may trigger short bursts of energy, but clarity sustains life. It reveals patterns before they harden. It allows deliberate choice. Shaolin teaching emphasizes this principle beyond the physical, in thought, in emotion, in intention. Being awake is not dramatic, it is subtle, it is steady, it notices opportunity and obstacle alike without distortion. The message behind any warning, prophecy, or teaching is not be afraid, but be awake. Not to collapse under threat, but to rise with awareness. Discipline, patience, and reflection form the path. Fear may exist in life, but mastery requires it be observed, not followed. Strength cultivated in this way is lasting. It withstands difficulty, absorbs challenge, and moves with purpose. Wakefulness, not panic, carries the practitioner forward. In this quiet power, change becomes inevitable. There is a question taught quietly in the halls of mastery, one that does not rely on fortune or fear. It asks nothing of the stars, the calendar, or what may come. It asks of the self, if I continue exactly as I am, where will I arrive? This question is a mirror, held gently but without compromise. It does not console, it does not demand, it reveals. In practice, the question becomes a companion to every action. A student rising before dawn may pause, sensing tension in body or distraction in mind. The inquiry surfaces naturally. If today is repeated, if habits persist unexamined, where does this path lead? Sometimes the answer is simple, sometimes it is unsettling, yet clarity always emerges. This clarity has more power than any prophecy because it comes from truth, not prediction. A story is shared from the early Shaolin texts. A monk faced a task he had postponed for months. Each day he avoided it, the weight grew. When he finally paused and asked the question, he understood the cost of continued delay. The insight did not remove difficulty, but it allowed precise, deliberate action. The path forward became visible, and with each step, the consequences of neglect diminished. The question does more than guide behavior, it cultivates presence. It trains the mind to observe patterns of thought and action before they harden into outcomes. Repetition without reflection is a river flowing blindly to the sea. Reflection allows choice, allowing course correction while it is still possible. Inner mastery grows from such questioning. It replaces reliance on external signs, omens, or warnings. It replaces anxiety about what may come with responsibility for what is being done. In this way, life becomes deliberate and consequence becomes a teacher rather than a threat. By asking honestly, every day becomes a moment of awakening and the future unfolds from awareness, not fear. Important moments rarely arrive with fanfare. They do not announce themselves with sound or spectacle. In the quiet teachings of Shaolin, these moments are whispers, subtle shifts in perception that appear only when the mind has slowed. The world moves rapidly, and many pass by without noticing. Those who hurry see only motion. Those who pause hear the signal beneath it. There is a story passed among the elders of the temple. A young monk walked a familiar path each morning. One day, a slight rustle of leaves, almost imperceptible, caught his attention. Curious, he slowed and discovered a nest disturbed, signaling a storm approaching. Others who rushed past noticed nothing, and later suffered the consequences. The whisper arrived first. Only presence allowed it to be heard. Life follows the same rhythm. Opportunities do not always announce themselves with urgency. Insight does not always arrive in clarity. Health, relationships, purpose, they all send subtle cues long before crisis. Ignored, these whispers accumulate. eventually appearing as regrets, losses, or sudden realizations that feel unavoidable. Those who move too quickly call them missed signs, unaware that the signs were never absent, only overlooked. Discipline, in this understanding, becomes the practice of slowing down enough to listen. Awareness is cultivated through breath, posture, and observation. Mind trained in the small details notices what others miss in the grand motions. This is the essence of mastery. Timing aligned with perception. It is the ability to recognize what matters while it is still tender before it hardens into consequence. The quiet is where life teaches its most valuable lessons. Stillness is not passive, it is active listening. Every step, every pause becomes a chance to perceive the whisper that shapes the path ahead. Those who cultivate this sensitivity move with foresight, while those who rush live at the mercy of events they could have noticed long before they arrived. January 4th is not a day of prophecy, but a reminder to see clearly. Shaolin wisdom shows that regret grows not from misfortune, but from delayed awareness. When the mind is present, patterns reveal themselves before they harden, and choices can be made with intention. Mindfulness brings clarity, allowing each action to align with purpose, while discipline protects the life we are yet to live. Personal mastery does not wait for some distant moment. It begins the instant we choose to live consciously, here and now. Take a quiet breath, observe your thoughts, and act with attention today, for each small step shapes the path ahead. May this awareness guide you gently, and may every day become a moment of deliberate choice. If this reflection resonates, join our journey by subscribing to Heng Yi Chronicles, where stillness, wisdom, and self-mastery meet.